Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn and my show called What's New 2024, where I talk about new albums that came out in metal, rock, and prog. Today I'm talking about 6 new albums that came out over the past week. They all came out on Friday, April 26th, and I'll talk about them in my order of preference and give my quick first impressions. I've only listened to most of these albums once. A couple of them I've listened to twice, so these are just first impressions rather than an extensive album review. And I'll start with the band O and their album Frailty. And the band's name is spelled O-U. And this is their second album. They're a Chinese band. So the album title starts with some Chinese characters. I'm assuming it's the Chinese word for frailty. And then the number 2, and then the English word frailty. This is progressive metal, and it's excellent. It makes it up to my excellent tier. This band's lyrics are not in English, so that's a warning to my English-speaking audience, which I imagine is most of my audience since I'm speaking in English right now. They have a female vocalist, and I thought their debut from 2022 was also excellent, but I'm even more excited about this album because Devin Townsend is involved in the production. He does a vocal feature on the album too, and I love his production and his vocals. And I describe the sound of this band O as like a gent kind of, but as if like Bjork is singing over it with like Radiohead kind of compositions. So kind of a mixture of gent, Bjork, and Radiohead, because it's got those genty guitar rhythms and drumming, but a lot of like atypical vocal melodies and rhythms and interesting like synth and electronic stuff going on. So check it out if that mix sounds good to you. It's definitely very unique sounding, and I don't hear too many other bands that sound like oh. My second favorite album that came out over the past week is 6x6 and their album Beyond Shadowland. This is the second album by this multinational band, and it's progressive rock. This one will be in my very good tier. Didn't quite make it to excellent. I thought their last album was just good, but I like this one even better, so I bumped it up to very good. And this band is a power trio that features experienced members like Ian Crichton from Saga, Nigel Glockler from Saxon, and Robert Barry from Three. If you're a fan of classic prog rock bands like Yes, Rush, Kansas, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, as well as catchy AOR, kind of more poppy hard rock bands like Journey and Boston, with a little bit of grittier bluesy hard rock and almost metal, but not really metal at times, kind of like a Led Zeppelin, then I think you'll like this. It's a great combination of all those bands that I mentioned, and a combination of prog and catchiness with great playing from all members. So if that sounds interesting to you, check out 6x6 and their album Beyond Shadowland. Next up, I want to mention Saint Vincent and her album All Born Screaming. This is the 7th album by this American artist, and it's pop rock with art rock, indie rock, electronic, new wave, progressive pop, and psychedelic influences. This one I'm putting in my good tier. I'd never listened to an album by St. Vincent before this, but I did check out some early release singles from this. I enjoyed them all, so I decided to check out the album. It's a solid and interesting poppy art rock album with solid female vocals, but I probably won't go back to it too often. Next up on my list, I have Accept and their album Humanoid. This is the 17th album by this German band, and it's more of a traditional heavy metal album. This is also in my good tier. I also thought their last album before this was good. This band sounds like Judas Priest with their riffing meets AC/DC's kind of vocal style to me. It has cool riffs, catchy vocal hooks. The lyrics are a bit cheesy, but at least it's in a fun way. They're a bit of a basic and derivative band, but they did start so long ago, way back in 1976, and they put out their first album in 1979. So I feel like if this was their sound at that time, It would have been new and innovative and modern sounding then. I can accept that they will sound a little bit like aging rockers at this point in their career. On this album, they continue their aging rocker sound of Judas Priest meets AC/DC, but it's done so well, and the performances are great, and the songwriting is catchy, but it's nothing too exciting. My favorite track on first listen was Humanoid, the title track. I noticed the line, "We have assumed control," and that made me think of Rush's 2112, but I'm not sure if that was an intentional reference. If this sounds good to you, check out Accept and their album Humanoid. Second last one to mention today is an EP by this former Beatle, Ringo Starr. It's called Crooked Boy. This is pop rock. And I also have it in my good tier. It's just 4 good, catchy pop rock songs that get straight to the point. They only take 12 minutes to listen to all 4. This former Beatle, he still knows how to write a catchy tune, even at the age of 83. And I'm happy to hear he's still going, even though he's always kind of been in the shadow of his former bandmates, who were always the more critically acclaimed songwriters of the group. And to be fair, it makes sense because I do prefer Paul, John, and George's compositions overall, but Ringo can still write a fun and catchy rock song as well. So check it out if you like the Beatles, of course, and if you like Ringo Starr, check out Crooked Boy EP. And last album I want to mention that I listened to over this past week was Justice, or since they're a French band, it might be Justice, I'm not sure. And their album Hyperdrama. This is the 4th album by this French band, and this is more on the electronic side. I'm not really an expert in electronic subgenres, but I think it's electro house. And it's got some rock, some disco, funk, and alternative influences too. This one I'm going to put in my average tier. I don't usually focus on electronic music, and especially not the dancier stuff like this, but I like their 2007 album Cross. I think that one was very good, so I was interested to hear this one. Unfortunately, while it wasn't bad or anything, it just didn't quite live up to my expectations. There were some good tracks like Generator and Saturnine, but all in all, I feel like this is a fairly average album from Justice. Maybe just a bit above average if you compare it to most dance music, though, because I do like some of the things on here. I like that they sometimes use real drums in their songs, or at least it sounds like they do. A lot of them don't, though. They still kind of have more electronic drums, but there were some moments where I thought I heard some real drums, and that was cool. I also think their bass lines and their grooves are pretty awesome. If you like dancing, I think you'll probably like this album by Justice more than I do. I'm not usually too into dance music, and I'm not much of a dancer myself, as you could probably guess by looking at me. But I did check this out on Curiosity, and I thought it was okay, average, fine. Probably won't go back to it, but you may have a different opinion. So check this one out if you like dance music. Justice with Hyperdrama. And that's it for my first impressions of these 6 new albums that came out recently in 2024. What do you think of these albums? Let me know down in the comments. And did anything else come out recently that you've been enjoying? Let me know about that in case I missed anything. And stay tuned for next time. Peace out.